Hello, stolen cousins. Let's get right into it. Right? You ready? I'm ready. What do I think? Grab a blanket because we're about to get spooky. Yeah, I like that. Okay. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. You already know what we be doing here. We're either watching something random or watching something horror related. Today it's the norm, meaning horror related. So let's just hop right into it because why waste time, right? Three, I mean, it's six, but I'm going to do a part one and part two. So, six true Stalker horror stories animated. This is part one. You got to tune in for part two. I feel like I could do that. It's my channel. I can do whatever I want. No. Let's get into it. Our old video, his intro was like,
everybody goes through tough breakups. It's inevitable and a necessary part of growing up. This is something my father always told me, as he offered consolation during my many heartbreaks in my adolescence. But remember, each heartbreak will draw you closer to the one, he'd say, emphasizing the last two words. I lived by these words, finding optimism in heartache and keeping my head high despite emotional despair. Eventually, after years of viewing broken relationships through rose-colored glasses, I met Stacy. For a few years in my 20s, I truly believed Stacy was the one. We met in college, dated for years, and fell in love. She checked all of the boxes. She was sweet, smart, kind, and most importantly, she loved me. But ultimately, it ended, though not like any of my previous relationships. Everything began to unravel 5 weeks ago. Emotionally, Stacy and I had been navigating rough waters. We both felt that the other had changed into an unrecognizable shell of their former self. We couldn't communicate, and our relationship deteriorated. I decided to call it. We aren't working out, I said to her one Saturday afternoon while sitting in a booth at our local diner. Her eyes stared down at the table, glassy with tears. I think we should end things now, while we're still on civil terms, rather than postpone it and hate each other. She continued to stare down for a few minutes. The tension in the booth grew. She finally looked up. 3 years, Johnny? She said in a whisper. I've given you 3 years for this? She gestures at the restaurant around us. To end it in a fucking diner? I'm sorry, I said. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, I only want to pause it because a lot of the times people will tell other people that want to break up with someone, do it in a public space. That way they can't make a scene. Like, I don't always feel like that's the best option because, like, what if you just decide to start flipping tables and stuff? You know what I mean? Like, obviously you want to try to be polite about it. You don't want anybody to get hurt. Like if it's like a domestic situation or, like anything like that, then definitely, public setting, police, anything you have to do like that. But like, I don't know. I don't feel like a public setting is always the best for a breakup. Like she's crying, got her crying at the restaurant and shit, like could have did better, Johnny.
I'm sorry, I said. I don't know what else to say. I got out of the booth and dropped a $20 bill on the table. Still looking down, she whispered, You will be. What?
You heard that?
I asked sharply. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? She looked up, gave me a weak smile, gathered her things, and headed for the door. It's nothing, she said. I'll just need some time. But as is always the case, things didn't break smoothly.
That's crazy.
For the
She
next few
said you
weeks,
low
Stacy made unexpected appearances throughout my daily routines. During a stop at the supermarket, I spotted her familiar face 3 aisles away, staring at me through dark sunglasses. Eating dinner with my coworkers, I noticed her sitting at the bar, glancing over to my table every few seconds. Every night I'd spot her old Ford car parked across the street. I hoped her interest in me would flicker away, but when the stalking intensified, I decided to stop it. A cold morning a week later, I entered my coffee shop for my daily routine. The barista greeted me cheerfully. "Good morning, Johnny," she waved, grinning wildly. "Here you go, the usual." She handed me my personalized Americano drink. I stared blankly, since I hadn't ordered. "Courtesy of Miss Stacy," she beamed. "I have to say, you two make such a cute couple."
Crazy.
Her pitch rose in delight. She nodded her head towards the back of the shop, where Stacy sat, grinning. She shot me a quick wave. "Listen, Monica," I began. "I'm not sure if you've heard, but Stacy and I are engaged." A voice finished for me, behind me.
Crazy.
Stacy wiggled her hand to Monica. A diamond ring glittered on her finger.
One of those.
"Oh my God," screamed the barista. Stacy joined with a high-pitched yelp. "Why didn't you tell me? Congratulations to you guys. I've always thought of you two." I cut her off, grabbed Stacy's arm, and dragged Stacy out the door. "What the fuck, Stacy?" I scolded. "What the fuck are you doing? I know you didn't want to break up, but this? This? What the fuck?" Stacy began to weep loudly. Eyes glared at me suspiciously. "Stop," I whispered sharply. "Stop." Like a switch, her crying stopped. "See?" she said, smiling in a calm and soothing voice. "See what I can do? Everyone will always believe the girl." I stared blankly, disbelieving.
Tears
"Let me put it in simple terms."
Okay?
She began in the same eerie voice.
Tears?
You
if
are
you know what
not
I mean,
breaking
you know what I
up
mean.
with me.
If
Got
you
it?
don't, you don't.
If you do,
but if you do,
let's
you
say
do.
there will be a lot of trouble for you. She winked. "You're fucking crazy," I said in a hoarse voice. "Maybe," she shrugged indifferently. "But you're stuck with me, so don't suggest being apart again. Got it?" She planted a kiss on my unmoving cheek and strolled down the street. "See you, babe." She winked at me over her shoulder. That night, I sent Stacy a series of harsh texts, demanding she leaves alone. I told her we were over. I told her I didn't want to see her. And I ended with a threat. If she didn't stop her stalking, I would file a restraining order.
Okay.
I didn't see Stacy for a week and a half. Yesterday evening, I arrived at my apartment and noticed my door was slightly ajar. Adrenaline pumping, I pulled my phone and dialed the police.
Well,
I poked my head inside. "Hello?" I yelled. "Is anyone here? If you are, identify yourself or I will call the police." No response came. "This is your last warning," I screamed, trying to sound brave. "I will call the police." In the distance, I heard a voice. It sounded familiar. It sounded like Alex Trebek. I locked my phone and entered my apartment. The bright television screen broke the living room's darkness. "What phenomenon occurs?" Alex began. "Often referred to as the Northern Lights." On the couch, Stacy sat with a bowl of popcorn on her lap. "Aurora Borealis," she chirped through a full mouth. I stood at the entrance to my living room, staring, immobilized with fear. My keys dropped, causing a loud clang. Stacy's head turned. "Hey, babe, glad you're home." I know, she began apologetically, I know you always want me to wait for you to watch our Jeopardy reruns, but I couldn't wait. Come join me. I continued to stand and stare. A mix of horror and anger filled me. Stacy, I whispered, how did you get in here? Oh, I've had copies of your keys for years, she said joyously. I just never used them until today. I got copies of your car keys, work keys, and a pair that I believe opened your parents' house. I thought you knew.
Not the
I lost
parents'
it.
house, bro.
Filled with fury,
I thought you
I
knew it's
screamed at her
crazy.
louder and harsher than I have ever screamed at anyone in my life. I told her I hated her. I didn't want her anywhere near me. I told her I would be filing a restraining order. And I pulled out my phone to call the police. I'd charge her with breaking. Now get the fuck out before they arrest you, I ended softly, panting in anger. She clicked the TV off. She turned to face me. Call them, she said calmly. I told you, they always believe the girl. She smiled. I began threatening her again, but she interrupted me and got up calmly. Look, she began. I get it. I do. You've made yourself very clear. I didn't want it to come to this, but you didn't give me any choice.
Crazy. All because you didn't
She
want to call
picked
the
up her
cops.
purse, rustled its contents, and pulled something out.
The blicky.
In her hand was a small pistol.
Blicky icky.
She raised it slowly. I told you. They always believe the girl, she began. Stacy, wait! I bellowed. Wait, we can talk about... But the bang cut me off.
Shut up.
I fell to the ground, hands over my head, lying fetal. But the pain never came, only a soft ringing in my ears. I opened my eyes and lying in front of me was Stacy. Where her left eye used to be was a bullet-sized gaping hole. A mixture of blood, pus, and brains ooze pus in the hole. I stared in, panting loudly, noticing her brain twitch softly for the last time. Blood dripped from her nose. Her left hand index finger flickered slightly as her life left her. The police arrived after my neighbor reported the gunshot. I was brought into the station, where I detailed everything that had transpired the weeks before. However, everything went out the window when a detective came into the room, reporting the contents of Stacy's letter. Before leaving my apartment, Stacy left a handwritten note in her bedroom. It accused me of beating her, abusing her, and threatening to keep quiet about everything. She wrote that she was terrified that I would kill her in my rage. And she mentioned I kept firearms in my apartment. She ended her note by stating that if anyone found her note, it was probably too late. I had killed her already. I was placed under arrest and in a holding cell for the night. I am writing this hoping that someone believes me and sees what actually happened. But I'm afraid Stacy was right. They'll always believe the girl.
And that's where you're wrong, Johnny. That's where you're wrong, love. They can't prove that she was lying because she is dead. But you have, that's where you should have called the police, boy. Oh, men, if you are watching this, okay? If you are in a situation where where your partner is being violent towards you, right? Call the police. Take pictures. Document it. If you are being something as simply as stalked, you have to have proof, okay? You have to have documents. He's seen her at what is it? When he went out for, when he went out with his co-workers, he seen her there. Just snap a picture. Boop. She's, why is she here when I'm here? You know, in the rear view mirror, he seen her. Click, at the coffee shop. Click, that's just a trail of truth that she is stalking you. Because now your lawyers have to fight and prove that you were the victim. In reality, you are the victim, but they have to prove that all because that letter lies, because they can't ask her, right? She's gone, so how are they supposed to just be like, oh, we could just take his side? No, we can't. Ugh, he should have just went to the cops. Pissing me off,
They'll
Johnny.
always believe the girl.
They don't listen to that. Call them people on that people.
I'm writing this story because no one talks about it. No one talks about the incident that occurred 7 years ago. The incident that ruined my life. That ruined me forever. I never knew that a simple mistake could cost you so much and could scar the very depths of your existence. No one blamed me for what happened, but I could never shake off the guilt. It was somewhat my fault. If only I had realized it sooner, I could have stopped it from happening. I still remember the painful cries of my mother. It happened 6 years ago, when I was 10 years old. I lived in a small town with my family. It was just me, my parents, and my little sister Helen, who was 6 years old. Since we lived in a small town, almost everyone knew each other somehow and were connected. Helen and I were enrolled in the same school.
I hate and love
it was the best school in the area,
town stories.
And most of the kids were enrolled there. I would often see my little sister during break times or on the large ground. Our school wasn't top class or anything, but it was great in its way. The principal held all the necessary events. They would take us on short trips. We had sports festival students, etc. This was an exciting week for us since the Students' Week was starting soon. Every day after classes ended, we would sit and discuss what our class would be doing for the Students' Week. Every class has its discussion session before heading home. When I was done with my discussion, I grabbed my bag and headed out. I saw Helen near the school gates. She seemed to be talking to someone.
Who's that?
I couldn't see where I was. So I started walking a bit faster. I was almost to the gate when I saw a tall man dressed as a clown.
Hell no.
He was hidden well enough for you not to see him until you got really close.
What are you doing at the goddamn school?
Helen, what are you doing? I
Talking
asked her
to
in a lower
strangers?
voice than normal.
You need to get yoked up.
Oh, big brother, look. I met Mr. Clown, and he says that he'll be my friend.
No.
She replied excitedly.
You got enough friends. You don't need no damn friends.
I looked at my sister with a sad expression. She never got to make friends. Everyone in her class avoided her because she looked slightly different from normal kids. Just because there was a large birthmark across her face, the kids discriminated, and she was often the target of bullies. But she never let that bother her. She was kind and sweet and tried her best to fit in. I looked toward the clown to thank him for saying that to her and meant a lot. But as soon as I looked at his face, I couldn't say anything. His gaze shifted from me, then to Helen, and then to me, mentioning a creepy grin on his face. It wasn't the type of smile you wear when you're happy. He was smiling, but his eyes were dead and cold. I slowly shifted uncomfortably under his gaze. I grabbed Helen's hand. Come on, we're going home. Mom and Dad are waiting, I said, keeping my eyes on the clown. She happily nodded and waved the clown by. I could feel his eyes on us as we walked away, but I dared not look back until we took a turn into the next street. I turned around to make sure he wasn't following us. For once, I was thankful our house was nearby. I couldn't wait to be behind the safe and secure walls of my house. I don't know, but that guy just gave me a bad feeling and my guts told me to stay away from him. I dropped my bag and I let it plop on the floor. Like always, my mom greeted us and asked us about school. As expected, Helen mentioned her clown friend. Mom looked at me with a questioning gaze, and I told her the story and about what I thought about the clown.
It's weird.
My parents only chuckled. They both knew very well that I was scared of clowns. That night, I woke up just as usual. I went to the bathroom and the kitchen to drink some water. And just like every other day, I checked up on my little sister before heading back to my room.
Oh, he's such a great big brother. Okay, but pause, right? Pause. So they chuckled, right? No one's gonna get in tune with the whole, telling baby girl, don't talk to strangers. We don't give a damn if it's a clown or Barney. I used to love Barney to death. But you think I'm gonna see Barney randomly outside my school and be like, oh my god, Barney? No, because my mom said strangers will snatch you up and kidnap you. So I'm gonna see Barney. I'm gonna love Barney, but I seen Barney on TV. What are you doing in front of my school? You know what I mean? Clowns are for the circus and the carnival. I don't know if clowns be at the carnival, but I know they be at the circus. And, at the little, what you doing at the school? Certain, you have to tell kids things in ways that they'll understand. If clowns are good at at circuses. Be like, hey, sweetie, don't talk to strangers. Yeah, mommy, but he's a clown. He's my friend. Yes, but I don't think so. If he was your friend, what was he doing at the school? We didn't call him to the school. You have to be very polite when you get real in tune with it. Try to make them understand that, there are bad people out there. You have to tell kids when they are young that there are bad people out there because they are so pure. They don't know. They think everybody is a good person. I'm gonna just laugh because old boy's afraid of clowns. You're not gonna laugh because the clown was just in the school talking to your kid. Come on now, do better. I had me confused.
And just like every other day, I checked up on my little sister before heading back to my room.
Such a good big brother.
Our rooms were on the second floor. I opened her door, walked in. I looked around, and just when I was leaving, something caught my attention. I looked out of her bedroom window and saw the same clown standing in the middle of the road, illuminated by the streetlight. I stumbled back in shock and fell to the ground. I was breathing heavily, and I slowly got up to look out of the window, but the clown was now gone. I didn't mention this incident to my parents or anyone else since I wasn't sure if I didn't imagine things. A few days passed, and I didn't see that clown. That I was thankful for. It was finally Students' Week. The school was filled with different stalls, some for food, some for games, and some for other entertainment. Our class had a game stall, and we offered different prizes to the winner.
Students' Week sounds
As the
like
day
something
went by,
where a clown
we closed
would be
our
at.
stall and went to see the other stalls. I realized the school was packed with people and it was hard to move around. My friends and I were heading to a food stall that was said to be great. As I was slowly moving between the crowd, I saw Helen from the corner of my eyes. I raised my hand to call her, but before I could call out her name, I saw that red curly hair. My face turned white. It was the same clown from a few days ago. He was talking to Helen and was leading her somewhere. My guts told me to stop her right away. I desperately started pushing through the crowd. I needed to stop her. I moved through the crowd. One of my friends asked me if everything was okay, and I explained to him the situation.
It's not, I need you to move.
At first, he thought I was kidding, but then he realized I wasn't. We were searching, and I saw my little sister near the front gate.
Okay, good.
She was innocently smiling at the clown, and my heart broke. In a few moments, I was running toward the gate as fast as I could.
Anxious because he needs to hurry up.
I looked around, but they were nowhere to be seen. I immediately started to run back home. I had to tell them about what had happened.
Oh my God.
They called the police and reported the incident. The police told us to wait as they sent out a search team. Later that day, the phone began to ring. It was my mom's friend Carol. She told her that she saw Helen with some clown. She tried calling out to Helen, but they were gone before she could. They seemed to be headed to the forest.
Oh, hell no.
My mother dropped to the ground, and my father quickly called the police. Later, they called us and told us that they had found my little sister's body.
Oh my
The body
God.
was in such a bad shape that they could barely recognize her. I won't go into further detail because it is too hard for me to bring back the memory.
This is the second story that I've seen where someone's little sibling got kidnapped. And it really breaks my heart because I'm an only child and I wanted to be a big sister so bad growing up. And I honestly don't know what I would do if, something like this even came close to happening to me. You know? Ugh. And this is crazy. This is just crazy. Oh my God. I'm so used to them like blurring it out. They showed baby girl, laying there decapitated.
Of her broken little body.
Ugh.
To think that innocent smiling face would be the last I would see of my sister.
That's
Hi,
heartbreaking.
this is Leonardo. I'm 35 now. I'll tell you a terrible story that happened to my wife, Patricia, 7 years back. All this happened to her when I wasn't even in her life. When I came into her life, she told me all these things. I was also very surprised after knowing her real horror story. So, the story starts. Patricia was a tall, talented, attractive, and beautiful girl. She'd also been part of a beauty pageant at the time. There would hardly be any man in her area who doesn't love or like her. She lived with her dear mother. They both were delighted, but soon everything was about to change. So, one day, she went for a morning walk. "Mom, I'm going, okay?" "Okay, honey. Honey, take your glasses too. You've just had an eye operation. Take care."
Aww.
And she left home. She enjoys walking in the park, but after a while, she realized that someone is following her for a long time. Who's there? Who's there? No one responded. She didn't see anything, but heard only the sound of someone's footsteps. She got scared a little. She thought that maybe that would be her illusion, so she didn't pay much attention to it. So, after that day, when she'd left for the market, she felt that someone was following her throughout the way. She looked back and saw no one there. She was very scared after that incident. And when she came back from the market, she still felt that someone was following her. She was very upset, but she didn't tell her mum anything because she didn't want her mother to be more upset because of her, and time passed like that. A few days later, an important meeting was about to take place in her office, and at the same time, the tire of her car was punctured, and she was suspecting that the disgusting work must be done by the same man or stalker. And even without wanting to travel, she had to travel by bus on the day for her meeting. While traveling by bus, she saw the real face of the stalker. He was also there. She got utterly scared witnessing the man's face because he didn't look like an ordinary man. His age was about 30 years, maybe. His teeth were yellow and his eyes were completely red. He was wearing torn old clothes that had lots and lots of holes in them. On looking closely, she realized that his clothes were also covered with bloodstains. Seeing that, her condition deteriorated completely. But the man was constantly staring at her, not even blinking at all. It seemed that he was doing that for some purpose. Oh my God! Who's he? Is he going to kill me? The stalker slowly started moving toward her. Fortunately, the bus stopped at the station at the correct time, and she quickly got off the bus, took a sigh of relief. When she looked back to see him, she saw that he was still looking at her, which was creepy and abnormal. He was also smiling, and he was saying, Bye, Georgia. Come back soon to meet me."
Is your name Georgia?
The man's mental condition wasn't looking right, so she ignored him again. She couldn't understand whose name he was talking about.
Okay.
She had a cousin named Alex. He'd come to stay in her house for a few days. Patricia had told him everything. He said he would help her if something happened again. So, the next day, she got her car, fixed, and the same day was her office holiday. She was sitting by a window and doing her work. She saw a little boy approaching her car and blowing the air out of her car. Then Alex reached to him and talked to him, smilingly. She was shocked. She was sure that it was all done by Alex, but why? It may be a trap for Patricia. Things got even worse when she saw the stalker in front of her house. Mom, come here. He's there. Who? I can't see anyone. Then Alex came over there. The man ran away. Patricia told her mom everything. Now I think he will kill me. We have to call the police right now. You should have told me all this earlier. Why didn't you tell me? Hurry, call the police. Alex? Police inquired about him but couldn't find him for many days. There was no proof against him. She'd taken several days off from the office and didn't go out also, but one day her mom felt very keen to eat ice cream. And she reached the market with Alex and her mom to get some ice cream. They knew that the stalker could come from anywhere. That's why they were also alert, and they planned that they would return home soon. So, when Patricia entered an ice cream shop to get ice cream, all of a sudden the stalker came after her. Alex punched him hard, but the stalker became successful in running away from there. He followed him and caught the stalker on the road. He held the stalker's throat tightly and punched him in the face, then kicked him in the stomach. I will not leave you today. You annoy her a lot. Tell me, who sent you? Tell me. He started crying. Don't know why. George, it's me. Oh, please. Stay away, you idiot. Why are you doing this to me, huh? We should hand him over to the police. On hearing the police name, the stalker got scared terribly. He was acting weird. Finally, he was caught by the police. When he got caught by the police, the whole truth came out. Why are you doing this? Why are you following Patricia for so many days? What do you want? I had a sister named Georgia. I loved her a lot. One day, when both of us were going on vacation in our car, we had a vast accident. I lost her. Patricia had an eye operation 1 year ago, and her eyes are my sister's eyes. Patricia had a cornea transplant at the time. I can't bring her back in my life, but I go to see Patricia again and again as my sister. Sister. Later, the police told the whole truth to Patricia. Knowing the truth, Patricia and her mother were quite surprised. After all, the eye she had was his sister's eye. For so long it seemed to Patricia that the man wanted to kill her, but that was nothing like it. It hurt her how wrong she was thinking about him. We have tried to find out his complete background. It's been found that he is a victim of depression. His mother had died in his childhood, and there was only one reason for happiness in his life, and that was his sister, and she too had gone away from him. And when he came to know that his sister's eye was transplanted in yours, that's why he wanted to meet you. Patricia was sad about it.
Oh, okay. So that one I can say is like, that story was definitely starting, it was definitely starting creepy. It was, definitely getting bad. But I can honestly say out of the other two, that one definitely, not like the other two had me mad. Especially story number two. Story number two will always have me mad. Just like the other story. I think it's in my other, it's either, I think it's in my New Year's horror stories, or it's in my, I don't think it's in my other stalking one, my stalking horror stories, where the other little boy's sister got kidnapped. I think it's in the New Year's one. But that second story, I just love kids so much. Like, kids and elderly people, any of those will definitely have my heart like, ugh. But as you see, I stopped it 3 stories in. Being honest to my word, this is part 1. Please stay tuned for part 2. I'm like, I think I might tag the New Year's story, or I'll tag something. But I don't think part 2 is going to be like tagged how I did my Valentine's Day stories. I did part 1 and then part 2 I had like tagged them together. But it's like I have to post both videos in order to tag them, you know? So I don't think I'm gonna do that with this one. But I will definitely tag part 1 and part 2, if that makes sense. But thank you for joining me in part 1 of True Horror Stories. I hope you enjoyed it. That second story was so crazy to me. I wonder what the other 3 are going to be like. And I'm going to watch that right now. You guys got to stay tuned. The way I post is more or less of it's going to be the next day. So whatever day you're watching this on, the next day you get part 2. Stay tuned. have a great have a great day. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you if you are subscribed to the channel. You don't understand how happy you guys make me. I am almost halfway there to being to my first 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And I'm just so grateful. The journey that I've been going through has been something. It's a process, but I am so thankful every day and just being able to be closer to being a full-time content creator. And well, I am a full-time content creator, but just being able to, I just want to reach more people. I want to make more people happy. I want to be able to do things like, I'm going to keep saying it. I want to be able to keep doing things like giveaways and just surprises for my supporters, because I know it's like their birthday, or I know someone had a baby or they graduated or something like that, In all due time, you guys. Again, this is a Stolen family, and support, because support's free. Why would you not want to support your stolen cousin? We're family. And have a great day. Bye.